Chip, are we live from New York?
You're on live.
Hey, folks, if we're all ready, I have 4 o'clock. I'd like to start this special meeting workshop. We all please stand or whatever you can do and we'll recite the Pledge of Allegiance. We pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice and justice for all.
Okay, we'll review resolutions. Number 1, a public hearing on the budget. Any comments, any questions on that resolution? Okay, number 2, resignation of village treasurer. Any comments or any questions?
Yeah, Jim had given us a proposal for staying on and having Lori be part-time to train the new senior account clerk. Personally, I think that's a smart way to go. I'm wondering why this proposal, or that wasn't considered, and why this is being done.
Yes, any other trustees, please, answer the question.
And this was Jim's choice, Roger.
No, this was not Jim's choice. Jim gave us a recommendation of having Lori in to train the new person and help him continue. If you're going to, and I'm going to say this right now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. If you're going to put my name on a resolution that I have not had time or not been part of, then you're running the chance of me either supporting it or not. And in this case, I'm not supporting this because I think it's foolish to go without a treasurer and have a new person as senior account clerk with no training, and also to appoint that person as deputy treasurer, and now they're going to assume those duties too with no training. I think that is foolish, and I cannot support it.
Well, Roger, first of all, I did contact you about sponsoring this, and you didn't respond. So if you're not willing to respond to sponsor it, I'm sure there are others who will. But you did not respond when I asked you if you would sponsor this.
I had that time to research it.
I sent it to you last week.
Yes,
So,
and it wasn't until today that I found out that you took it upon yourself to have a meeting with the employees of Village Hall on Friday and concocted this plan to have Lori and Jim replaced.
oh, I don't think there was any concoction. There was, I think that we made it very clear, Roger.
Who's we?
Well, I think I made it very clear to you that the proposal that was presented, and I wrote it to you all in an email in regard to the fact that this was the creation of a new position, that there was a retirement that had occurred voluntarily, and that we didn't feel, and I can tell you, I've talked with Kara, I've talked with Jim, that there were not enough votes to support that proposal. And I thought that was quite clear in the email that went out last week. And yet you pursued it, and it was made quite clear that there weren't enough votes to pass it.
Just because you have 3 votes doesn't mean it's right.
Well, I would agree with that.
We have a fiduciary responsibility to our taxpayers.
Well, I emailed Jim last week. I emailed all of you that I was disappointed in his decision to leave now, and I was hoping that he would be willing to stay.
His recommendation was that Lori be appointed as deputy treasurer and to continue on and be able to train. If this board isn't going to do that, then he said he would resign. All right. He was willing to stay on and have Lori trained.
I'll tell you what, Roger, typically a resignation doesn't include the requirement to have somebody else put in a certain position or a threat of type of response wanting to do something else. I mean, you got a position, someone who's was ready to retire and requiring somebody else to into a position on that basis. Well, that's not how things are done. So I think Jim, after talking with Eva Don, realize that that's the way to go. And this new resolution reflects a discussion with Jim.
And the three of you think that this is smart to put somebody in who, given training, is probably going to be very capable, but have somebody taking over the senior account clerk and the treasurer duties with no training? You think that that's fiduciary responsible?
Actually, Roger, the deputy clerk appointment was at the advice of Jim so that she could sign checks in his absence. If
Right,
that's something you're not
But basically,
comfortable with.
that's the only person you're going to have in there then.
Well,
we
Doug is also available to sign checks. So there are two check signers, and that's what Jim suggested, that we have somebody who could sign a check if it need be. And that was the only, there's no additional remuneration, there's no additional funds for that. It's simply a temporary assignment so that she has the ability to sign checks in his absence. And
There's
that
a
was
lot.
at Jim's recommendation.
There's a lot more to the position than just signing checks.
Actually, that's the only, Jim, did you want to add something? That's the only responsibility in regard to that position that she's expected to perform right now. And that's been explained to her because, like I said, Jim recommended that there be somebody else available to sign checks.
So
And
who's
I
going
think once a treasurer is on,
to do all the other duties until we have a treasurer?
I'm curious why Alyssa hadn't been being trained for the last several weeks.
Well, because mainly because of the virus.
I'm sorry, Jim, I can't hear you.
The reason was that we didn't have the time available because of this virus. The pandemic has people in the office.
I can't hear him either.
The rest of you need to put yourselves on mute.
Anne Marie, could you go in and see if his speaker is turned on, please?
Yeah.
Thank you. While Jim's getting his microphone fixed, I can tell you it has been a difficult time to train anybody, if not impossible. During this coronavirus epidemic, we are by executive order, not any non-essential job to not be here 100%. You know, there are times when our or even our essential or non-essential workers have to come in to write checks and so forth and so on. But as far as training, you're supposed to maintain a safe distance of 6 feet apart. Right now, it is not the optimum, if not the very worst case scenario to train somebody. So this is not a good time to be transitioning, in my opinion.
Well, and that's unfortunate because we didn't really have any control over the retirement. However, the training is not likely to happen anytime soon. So we do need somebody in that position. And speaking to the person we're planning on appointing, she felt very comfortable that that could happen. And I think in light of all of what you just said, Doug, we owe it to her to let her try to see what she can do. Because there won't be any training until this is all over. And somebody's got to do it.
Jim, is your speaker fixed? Can we hear you?
Can you hear me?
No, somewhat.
He's working on it.
Okay. Okay, Chip's there. Okay.
Have we had any responses from the advertisement for treasurer that we put out?
Oh, go ahead.
That would have gone to Michelle, but it just closed, actually. The first advertisement was last Wednesday in the Observer and the Post-Journal. It was on Thursday and Sunday in the Buffalo News, and the posting date is April 17th. I spoke to Michelle by text today and she hadn't received anything, but she hadn't been in to check the mail.
Has anybody spoke to Baggett, Laredo Baggett, or Jeff, I forgot his last name, that has, for any assistance during this time with our Treasurer's Department?
No, I have not. I have not received authorization from the board to make such a unilateral move. So the board decides what the board wants to do. I will not make any confirmation to any outside firm at this point. So when the board decides if that's the direction they would like to go, I will make that connection and communication with them.
I mean, it wouldn't hurt to, it's not that you're actually contracting with them or making any kind of negotiations, but it probably wouldn't hurt to ask if anybody's available, just in case, said this is unusual times.
I've been instructed in the past not to make any unilateral decisions. The board instructs me, and that's what I'll do. Tim, can we hear you now?
I personally don't think it's wise, again, to have a new person in there and now to bring in an outside accounting firm that's not familiar with our system, and that's what's going to run the village till we get a new treasurer in, who still would have to be trained.
Well, if Jim, would you be willing to postpone your resignation for, a month or two?
We've gone through this over and over and again. I think it's time that the resolution is on the table, and he doesn't want to continue this stress on him. I mean, he made that perfectly clear, and I don't think it's fair to ask him to do it again. I think we should just move forward with where we're going. It's unfortunate that we're in a rough time, but I'm sure we're going to get through this just fine. I mean, it's going to have to happen at some point, So let's just make it happen and move forward. I know we can move forward.
I personally like to hear Jim Sedota answer your question.
You know, guys?
No, not really, Chip.
How about now?
Yes, it's better. Chip, we can't really hear him yet.
Hear me?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes, thank you.
It was on the condition that Lori stay on because I don't feel that I could continue to do my job without having her here to train a new person. Now, this isn't the time to be training anybody because of this virus. You can't really spend any time together. And she was only in here a couple of days the last week or so, and catching up on the things that she had to do. And so she wasn't available to train Arissa. She's not opposed to doing that by any means. And personally, I mean, I don't have any problem with Arissa being appointed. It's just that she needs some training in spite of her. I mean, I know she's got the experience, but there's a lot that's going on in this office, and I just don't feel that without proper training, it's going to be a very smooth transition. That was my only purpose, to have Lori stay on for a month or two, was that it would make a smooth transition, and I'd have been willing to stay on under those circumstances. But without her, I don't feel that I can continue acting as the treasurer. And lately, I've been feeling a lot of pressure. I don't need it at my age, and so that's about all I can say about it.
Is there anybody else who would like to comment or have any questions?
Jim, when we spoke on Friday, you were willing to act as a financial consultant at a given rate an hour. Are you still willing and available to do that?
Not right now. I withdrew that request. So I don't know what I'm gonna do yet.
Jim, if we did accept your proposal and hired Lori as deputy treasurer, though, you would stay on?
Yes, I would. The idea is that until Arissa was trained.
Right.
Well, but that proposal included up and through September for $25,000.
Well, you didn't even come in to talk to me about it. I'm certainly.
I did on Friday, Jim.
Friday when you presented what you had already decided you were going to do.
There was still plenty of room for discussion, and you told me you didn't want to speak with me.
Well,
so there was.
I pretty much thought you had made up your mind. You feel, you have the 3 votes. So.
Well, there was another issue out there that, when you asked, when you talked about Lori coming back, was that Lori had a refusal to train anyone.
No, she did not.
Yes, she did.
No, she did not.
Actually, there was time for her to train from the time she announced her retirement before this virus hit. There was time. There was a good week in there, and there were times set up and hopefully for her to come over and work with her, and she refused.
No, I'm sorry, but you're mistaken on that. You never presented to her that you wanted her to start training Arissa until this virus took place. This happened recently. Otherwise, I was in line with that kind of thinking, that she would be the natural person because of her background. And I was the first one to approach John about staying on, if he would be willing to extend his time before he retired, so that Arissa would be available to be trained. But Lori has never refused to train her. So you're mistaken about that.
I think you need to speak with Erlissa about that, Jim, and I'm not going to argue about it, but there were days that Erlissa was available and willing, and Lori turned her away. So we can only verify that through Erlissa.
Well, this wouldn't come out of the blue, so something must have been about it. And like I said, I think you just move forward with what's on the resolutions for today.
I agree.
So given the constraints of the coronavirus, how does one train somebody when you're supposed to stay 6 feet away?
Well, that's a good question, whether we appoint a deputy clerk or not.
Somebody with 28 years of experience is going to train somebody for 1 week?
I'm sorry, Roger, would you repeat that?
I said, you've got a woman that was in that position for 28 years, and you're going to give 1 week training? How do you justify that?
It's not about the years. It's not about the amount of years. It's whether somebody's qualified, and no matter how we do this, at some point, somebody new has to come in and take over. They're not going to know every little crazy little thing about what this does, but they're going to have the best knowledge of how to operate a truck. And we have, like I said, we have to move forward. We just can't wait and wait.
I guess my other question would be, if Lori was willing to continue working for such an extended period of time, why did she retire? That would be my question. If we're going to bring her back for months at a time, why would she retire now?
She had a plan originally to work till October next year. It's your day-to-day micromanaging that drove her out.
Oh, thank you, Roger.
That's on the right, Lori. And
I'm
also,
sure
we brought her list in.
The other thing,
I was gonna say, we brought her list in with 8 weeks of training for the water department. I was told John had 10 weeks, and now you expect your senior account clerk to get trained in less than 2 weeks?
I think our senior account clerk that we currently are about to appoint has more experience than anyone else has had, and can walk into this position quite nicely and be able to figure out some of these programs and things very easily. And I think we ought to give her the chance.
I believe she's very capable, but I don't think it's fair to her to just drop her in there without training.
She's been talked about. She's talked about it at length. She feels comfortable being able to try it.
And who interviewed her?
I'd like to hear from trustee.
Eva, were you the only one that interviewed her? Whether was another trustee available?
I'm sorry, who are you talking about? Erlissa? Roger and I met with Erlissa.
Can
That
you
was
hear me
a
now?
conversation to see if she had interest. That was not an interview.
No,
Yes.
you guys had interviewed her before, and you spoke very highly of her, and it was your recommendation that we move her forward. Both Rogers. And so the day that Lori resigned, Roger, you and I met with Erlissa to see if she was interested and if she felt capable of doing the work.
That was a 5-minute conversation. That's all it was. Lori might be resigning. Would you be interested in the position? I wouldn't call that.
We'd be in the same position here if Annie Phyllis or she was became ill because of this virus thing or something and couldn't train. Then she would have to do without training anything. So the whole thing, I mean, the idea that she can't or can't do it. Even Dawn,
I never said she can't do it.
is confident she
Don't
could.
put words in my mouth. I said with proper training she can do it. I don't think it's fair to just drop her in there without proper training. I never said she couldn't do it. I think she's very capable.
Yes, and I think she's capable of doing it without the training, quite frankly, and I think we need to give her that chance. And the
I
other
think
thing
that's
is, have we
responsible.
checked with the union in regard to bringing somebody back post-retirement and doing union work? Because I don't believe that that's certainly something that has to be negotiated, if anything. But has there been a discussion with the union in regard to bringing somebody back post-retirement? Because I
No.
don't think that's happened.
No, but then you're also suggesting taking other positions out of the union. I don't think you've talked to them either.
I don't have any idea to take any positions out of the union. Anyone that we're talking about now doesn't remove from the union.
Payroll clerk,
We're not removing her from the union.
your
We talked
proposal.
about- We talked about making her confidential, but I think that's gonna remain civil service. And that's gonna be up to them. But our personnel person should be confidential.
Okay, folks, Roger or Kara? Anything from you two?
No, I'm just a little upset that, Eva took this on herself to interview and make these recommendations before talking to the rest of the board about this resolution.
I kept you apprised of all my conversations through emails. And I told you I was doing
I'll
that.
take a look at those emails. And I remember. Well, again, I don't feel that you have the right to sit down and interview somebody and then come up with a resolution without us at least discussing this position with how we're going to handle it in the future. I mean, we did pass a resolution to appoint Lori and give her a stipend, and then you took it away from her. So again, there's a situation where I would be a little upset myself too. So if you want me to train somebody to take my position, I might have a little bad taste in my mouth also. One of the things I want to add too is, years of owning my own business. I mean, it took me 4 to 6 weeks to train a driver in a FedEx truck. I mean, that's not running a treasurer's position in our village. But again, proper training to hold that person accountable in that position in the future, I think is very important. And how you went about this, I'm not very happy with it.
But we're not training a driver, the person has the educational background.
Folks, if you're not speaking, could you please mute your mics so there's not some background
Drivers.
noise?
Yeah, proper training in any position, Jim. I don't care if it's a treasurer, I don't care if it's a truck driver, I don't care if you're working at Burger King. Everyone has proper training. And to have somebody trained for 1 week in a position that involves this kind of background and information that's needed, I just don't think it was right for what you guys are trying to push through here tonight.
Well, ideally, I think training is always probably a better situation, but it's not always possible. And there are lots of positions that start without training. And I feel that the treasurer's position is way more important for training, which is why we would contract with Jim to stay on, than the senior account clerk. So, and it's unfortunate that we don't have that opportunity. There were no interviews, by the way, that were conducted without any of you. This was the result of the discussion we had when we were interviewing the treasurer positions, and we talked about moving Erlissa. And all of you were on board with that. Now, if that's changed, that's one thing. But
Which is a promotion to a current employee.
No, we made a recommendation based on the information we found out during our interview process. We didn't say go ahead and interview for her for that position.
she wasn't
Don't put words in
interviewed.
my mouth either.
She wasn't interviewed. We asked her if she was willing to take the position. She said yes. No action's been taken until now. And you've all received it in an email, and now you have it in a resolution.
We can't hear Jim.
Pardon?
Yeah, there he is.
Were you saying something we couldn't hear you?
I said, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. All of this went on without my knowledge. You were meeting with with the people that I are responsible for. You never kept me informed. Yeah, I made a suggestion and a recommendation, and apparently you felt like that I wasn't going to be. Well, you never invited me to even participate in any of this process, which I think, in my mind, is what I consider a lack of confidence in not involving a department head who's kind of overall responsible for the actions of these other people in this office. You took it upon yourself even to just go ahead, and I just I just don't feel that was the proper way to go.
Jim, I think you are conveniently forgetting the conversations that we had in which you did tell me that you had spoken to John, so did I. You did tell me that you recommended Erlissa, so did we. These weren't conversations that took place without your knowledge. They took place without your presence, but they did not take place without your knowledge.
Well,
And you have been extremely adamant about it's your proposal and that's all. And I don't really want to negatively affect potential employees or movements up the ladder because everybody's so angry and volatile.
well,
I think it's a shame.
I have not been angry and volatile. I've just made a recommendation. You didn't even take it into. You didn't even have the courtesy to come in and talk to me about that. I mean, once you did, I guess. But
Yes, I did, Jim. I
none
did
of the
speak
other-
with you about
none of
it.
The other board members did. I asked to meet with the board initially when I proposed appointing Lori as a deputy treasurer. You didn't have the courtesy to let me come in and at least present the reasons why I felt that was a decision that would be in the best interest of the village. And those recommendations, that's my only motivation for this whole thing. All of this conversation could have been avoided if you'd have put Lori on for even a month or two just to be involved in the training. And I agree that now is not the proper time to do that, but maybe sometime in May when this virus issue is lifted, then that would be a more proper time, because she would have the time to provide the training for Alyssa. So Alyssa's not the issue. It's the process and the fact that I was excluded in this.
Jim, you are adamant that you would not be interested in coming back on a part-time basis. Can I ask what changed your mind? Just stress?
Not a young man anymore. I'm concerned about this virus, and the last thing I want to do is get sick. But just recently, in the last month or two, I've started to feel stress about this. I felt that my duties have been undermined, and I just can't work under those kind of conditions. I think I understand, the board has the ultimate decision, and I'm not questioning that. It's just the process. If any other department head would have come in, you would have met with them. You would have asked, for example, Tony Gugino just met with Jim Linden to talk about creating a position of mechanic. He met with them. He listened to them. Probably have to come before the board, and that's just the way that I've been used to having things done. But I haven't made many recommendations, and this is the one. And I realize there's personalities involved in this, but I'm not concerned about the personalities. I'm concerned about moving forward and in the smoothest transition as possible. And I just felt when you train somebody, you go to the person you're replacing. You did that with John, so why is this any different? John stayed on to train Alyssa, and nobody had any problem with that. So why is this any different?
Well, I think we would have not had a problem if she had stayed on to train, but she gave us a week's notice. And that's because she was upset. So there wasn't any time to train. And I think that it was treated differently. And there were personnel issues, Jim, that I think you're glossing over that we certainly can't talk about in this venue. But there certainly were not personalities, but personnel issues that had occurred that were left unresolved and unattended to.
Well, I don't know about that.
I think you do, but we can leave that.
No, I don't really, because you've talked to my employees, and they've indicated something that they've never indicated to me about having a problem. But I'm not going to get into that now. I've said all I'm going to say about this.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Welcome back.
Like, I don't know what happened to my internet computer, but I'm on my phone, so.
Okay.
Okay, where are we at, please?
Number 3.
Okay, Oric Fire Hall Improvement Bond. The cost, Ryan, could you also please chime in on this, please, of why we're at what?
Jim,
Jim or Ryan?
can you speak up, Jim?
Yeah, I am trying to speak up. I got
Okay.
the mic right in my face just about.
We can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, well, I initiated that's a bond authorization, cover the cost difference between the 400,000 that we've already bonded and the estimated 600,000 that the total project is going to cost. So without giving you the option of either taking the money out of your fund balance or borrowing it when the time comes, but this has to be done before the authorization, before the resolution is passed authorizing the project to be completed. So that was the purpose of that.
Is there any other questions or comments on that, please?
Hey, Roger, you and I met with the fire department just recently in a meeting. You want to kind of fill in on any information that they brought forth and trying to help us with this?
You guys still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So as Trustee Britt said, he and I met with the fire department again. We brought up the fact that this project is, by the time it's all said and done, going to be about 200,000 over what we have budgeted for. We asked if they could help us out at all. It was something they were going to discuss with their board and let us know. I had a meeting with Jim Sedota to kind of find out what kind of timeline if they were able to help us out when we would need the money by, and I'm going to report back to them. But basically, that's where it's at. Some of these, as Doug, you would know, being a member of the fire department, some of these repairs have been let go for years and years. They've kicked the can down the road. So, as I explained to the members of the fire department, we either figure out a way to get this done now, or we're just going to kick the can down the road again. And these problems are never going to get any better. They're just going to continue to get worse and worse.
Yep. I mean, and with Wendell Engineering, we're kind of caught in the bind here because they own all the specs. When this was the original contract was done, they own all the information. We just can't walk away from this and go on to another contractor. These repairs have been in need for going on 3 years now. We can't let it go any farther. These are some, when the bids came in, the bids were over. And now, in addition to that, the proposal for their administration and their clerk works all added up to this amount. So we're kind of in a between a rock and a hard place of either, saying the heck with it and walking away, or we can't do that right now because the building's in bad repair. So that's kind of where we're at. So that's the reason for the extra bonding of $200,000.
Jim, does this money need to be sent to them immediately, or is there a certain period of time? I think, Ryan, we discussed this too. Wasn't there a 30-day or 45-day to commit?
The board has to have the total authorization in place, the total spending plan in place to cover the cost. No money would be expended until there's actual cost incurred. So this is a permissive referendum, however, and it doesn't become, well, I'm not sure now, maybe, I think this.
It's not a permissive referendum, Jim.
5-year, yeah, so there's no waiting period. So this money could be available when we're ready to use it. I mean, we don't have to borrow the money now. Probably could be done during the project. We already got $400,000 aside. That was that was put in our bond issue because we thought that was going to be the total cost. And then as it turned out, when we rebid it, it came in along with the engineer's cost, came in $200,000 more. So this just gives you the option of, I mean, you can do a combination of things too. If you felt that you had some money available in your fund balance, you could appropriate some of that and then use the difference to apply towards the bond issue. Or I would recommend though that you just borrow the $200,000 right now, and then it doesn't impact your budget till the following year, and then it would be a payment over 5 years is how it would work out.
Jim, correct me if I'm wrong. I think what we're seeing here is these projects, when they first started, they had initial costs, and these projects have lingered on for 2 to 3 to 4 years here. And in the process, the cost of doing those projects has increased as well. So there's so many factors that are involved in this. I see no way around it.
Yeah, well, originally this project was over 3 years old, and the estimated cost at that time was like $315,000. Now it's almost doubled over a 3-year period. We didn't get bids the last time we tried to bid this. Unless you want to hold this off another year, it seems like, everything is in place. And you might, in my opinion, I think you ought to bite the bullet and just go ahead with it. Otherwise, it's just not going to get done.
Nope, it won't get done, and the cost of doing it will, increase exponentially moving forward. So, any other comments or questions on this? Okay. Next resolution to appoint senior account clerk. Any questions or comments, please? Okay, no comments. Next resolution to appointing Alyssa LeBeau as deputy treasurer. Any comments or any questions?
Other than what I've already said, that I think it's unfair to her to drop her in these positions without training.
Okay,
You have to remember that there is no training for a deputy treasurer because we haven't had one before, but if
We're
you
also
don't
gonna have a
feel-
deputy, we're
if
gonna
you
have a
don't
deputy
feel that you
treasurer
need
and
a
no
deputy
treasurer.
treasurer, then don't appoint one, and Doug will have to sign everything. That was the
No,
recommendation.
it doesn't work that way, Evo. It requires two signatures.
Okay, then pick a trustee. Isn't Roger on the finances?
Trustees cannot act in the capacity of a treasurer.
In the past, our attorney Dan Guard had done it. So the attorney is could be a legal co-signer.
It's up to him,
Temporarily.
I guess, if he wants to take the responsibility, that's up to
He
him,
had
I
to do
guess.
it, he had to do it before when Rick St. George left and left us with nobody to do it. The Mayor Landis and the attorney had to do it for a short period of time because we were left with not. So
Well, I think that if it doesn't cost, it's not going to cost us anything, and our list is willing to do it, you might want to consider it.
okay. Any other discussion on deputy treasurer? Resolution appointing Alyssa LeBeau, I hope I'm saying her last name right, LeBeau as tax collector. Any comments or any questions on that resolution?
Two things, actually, the title is receiver of taxes. And the second thing is we've already appointed Lori as receiver of taxes.
Dan, you want to take this one?
Give me 1 second to pull up my notes on this. I'm sorry.
being that Lori's no longer an employee, then she wouldn't be tax collector, so.
Well, that's what Dan told us as far as when she retires from all positions. You can't pick and choose what you retire from.
Right.
And so when you retire, your employment with that employer is finished, all aspects.
Says who?
Well, Michelle indicated that when she filed the paperwork with New York State, and Dan indicated that when we checked it to see if it was legal.
Dan, are you ready to?
If I might, what we've got here is the charter for the village, okay? References that job 3 times. It just talks about the duties of the position. It doesn't talk about who fills the position or any requirements to fill the position. It was my understanding that this was a task and not an actual position. It doesn't appear in the civil service anywhere. It doesn't appear in the union contract. So my understanding is that this is a task which has been traditionally assigned to another employee of the village, which is why we set up the stipend system the way.
Okay, does that explain it?
Yes.
Okay. Roger, Brett, or Pecos, further questions on that?
No, I'm just questioning because we already appointed somebody. Her resignation letter only mentioned senior account clerk. So I was questioning whether or not we could appoint somebody else. Seeing as how we had already appointed somebody.
So how does that work there, Dan? This one here, please.
Well, my understanding from looking into it is that it's just a task and not an actual position in terms of a job. There is no title for it. It isn't in the union contract. It's not a civil service title that I could see. My understanding is it's just a task that's been assigned to another employee. And so if I resigned my position from the village, I wouldn't be eligible to do that task. They'd have to assign it to someone else. I'm not talking about the merits of this thing, but that's the law as best I understand.
Okay.
Dan, what does the village law say about the tax collector position or the tax receiver's position? Would that apply in this case because our charter is kind of silent on the position itself?
Well, I mean, it's not really silent on the position, Jim. It's not mentioned very often. I did a little stuff on it, and I can send it over to everybody, just so we're all on the same page after the meeting.
Okay, thank you. Resolution number 7, to extend John Weiss's retirement date. This is in order to help train Larissa's replacement, and John volunteered to do that. Any discussion or any questions? Moving forward, number 8, resolution appointing Anne Marie Johnston as registrar. Any comments or any questions?
Who is currently our registrar?
John Wise.
Yes,
Why
John.
not why not just,
John has recommended that, as is custom with most other municipalities, the registrar should go to the village clerk. He was chosen as registrar when Rick left, and it would have gone to a clerk had there been one. And his recommendation was that duties and responsibilities of registrar go to the village clerk.
Any other comments or questions on that resolution?
Nope.
Okay, moving forward, number 9, resolution, James Sedota as financial consultant. Jim, is it?
I requested that that be removed.
Okay, sorry, okay. That is removed. Resolution on special committees. Any comments, any questions? Number 11, budget transfers. Jim, would you explain those, please?
I'm sorry, Mayor, what was the discussion regarding the resolution on special committees again?
I believe it was taken out the 2-person being the interview committee and replacing it with whomever was let's say the streets department hire, the streets department committee personnel would be the one that would be the interview committee, and it didn't be anybody else if they needed to be, but it would be the committee that would be with that or of that personnel. So that's what that was.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions on that one? Okay, budget transfer. Yep. Oda, would please let us know what this is about, please.
Budget transfers has to deal with the fire department at the request of the fire chief. He wanted to transfer $5,000 from the personnel line to the repair and maintenance line, I think. Is that right, Ryan? And then there was another transfer required from the personnel line to the overtime line. So those are the two. They're transfers made within his department, so they don't have any impact on the rest of the budget.
Okay. Any other questions, comments on that? Okay, abstract number 522, approval.
Those are the list of checks that were written during the month of March that you've gotten a budget report on that. And so that's that's what's required to submit the abstract for approval.
Okay. We'll go to new business.
actually, Doug, can we go back to the budget transfer first? That second one was 12,000. Trustee Britz, did you get that? So the first transfer was 5,000, the second one was 12,000.
Yeah, let me just check my notes.
Total of 17,000 coming out of the personnel line, 12,000 going into the overtime line, and 5,000 going into the maintenance line. Equipment maintenance. It was they needed money for the repair of the, I don't know which engine, Ryan, but it was for it was for one of the engines. It was for the tower truck, that's what,
And those were all in the fire department, right?
yes.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Anything going back?
Yeah. Got
Okay. New business. I have two things. Northern Chautauqua Catholic School requested to hang a banner over Temple Street. They have the insurance certificate and the information here. I can give this information to Anne Marie to be put in for the next meeting, and so everybody can check that out. Also, Fredonia Church, there on the old Baptist church on the corner of Temple and Church, would like to close down Church Street on Sunday. Here coming up until this coronavirus social distancing thing is over, from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. on those Sundays moving forward here. What they were doing is, instead of meeting, because you can't meet public, no meetings, no amount, that they were going to FM transmit their service over to radios and cars, and they were going to have the people show up and, at the worst case scenario, park in parking places. But if they could utilize the street, they wanted to do that too. So I can have that put into a resolution. Is there any questions or any thoughts on either of those two things?
I got a call that they held service on Sunday in their church. Is that correct?
I don't know that, but I hope everybody is following the social distancing guidelines from our county, state, and federal governments. It's only to protect everybody. So I know there's been groups of kids playing basketball and having house parties, college kids, and I've calls on that. I mean, we can't go out and arrest everybody, and I'm not sure what statute there is to arrest everybody, but with the bail reform law as well, all you can do is issue appearance tickets. And right now our court system, unless it's filing different things for serious crimes, of arrest warrants and so forth, that our court system would be put out to whenever. I don't know when the court system will reconvene. So it's very hard. You just have to ask and encourage our public to practice social distancing. And if you don't have to go out, just stay at your house. So I can, if Phil would like to speak up on it, he can, but I just think right now we can only encourage, and we'll put stuff on our website to encourage people to use social distancing and the reasons behind it.
I had some people express concern to me about house parties. It looked like college student housing. Last weekend, I had some concerns.
Absolutely. And again, the police, if they're breaking up every, and they can, but that would take up a lot of time. And, I think the best course of action is just encouraging and letting people know the reasons behind social distancing. It's not only for their safety and health, it's for somebody that maybe their grandmother, somebody else's grandmother, or somebody that's in bad health, that they could be transmitting this. And I think that's the best way to combat this. I mean, we can't be arresting everybody, and at this point in time, I think that can't happen. So I think I will continue to go online and encourage our community to practice social distancing and the reasons behind it. So unless somebody's got a solution that's can solve this more reasonably, I think that's the way we go. Is there any other new business out there? Anybody have?
Mayor, are you gonna have resolutions for the next meeting on the NCCS banner and for the Church Street then?
Yes.
Is that the plan? Okay.
Yes.
I think that there's another under new business. I sent an email out about scheduling meetings for budget workshops. And I spoke with Dan Gard in regard to being able to do like a blanket statement notice with all of the dates listed for special meetings for budget workshop, for the purposes of budget workshop, so that we could all meet together. I think that was the desire when we last spoke about it. But we would need to set those dates tonight with a resolution in order for them to be able to be listed under one special meeting notice.
Eva, Don, do you have any dates in particular, or do you guys need to discuss this right now?
Well, we did talk, I called Anne Marie today to ask Jim if he was available on Wednesday, which is the earliest we could call a meeting with a notice. And I believe, Jim, did you say you were available at 2:30 on Wednesday?
Yes.
Thank you. And then with vacation, and I think I explained this in the email, with vacation kind of being canceled, we are available, and it might be good to use those 2 weeks time to meet with department heads. We have to approve this by May 1st. Our next meeting date was scheduled for April 20th. Am I getting feedback here?
A little bit.
Yeah, sorry. Our next meeting day was scheduled for April 20th. And if we could have those budget meetings prior, we could approve the budget on the 20th. Otherwise, we'd have to have a special meeting before the 1st. Are you guys available if we did it three meetings next week and 3 meetings the week following after we met with Jim on Wednesday? Are you guys, if we did it, and Chip, are you there? Chip?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Your availability is better after what time?
4 o'clock.
Okay. What's everybody's thought about that?
Depends on the day and time, I guess.
I mean, so if we set them up next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, the next 2 weeks, or I don't care, Monday, Tuesday,
That's a lot.
Well, you have 6 department heads in addition to Jim to meet with. So,
Do 2. We could do 2 department heads.
Oh, absolutely.
per meeting.
Good. Absolutely, yes. So if you wanted to have 3 meetings in the next couple weeks, so that we had some idea moving towards April 1st, April 20th.
That sounds better to me.
So
What if we did like a Monday, Wednesday, and then a Tuesday or something like that?
I'm fine with that. You want to do Monday, Wednesday next week and the Tuesday following? Everybody good with that?
So the 6th,
Monday's the 6th.
6th, 8th, and 14th.
There you go. And then this next Wednesday, which is the 1st. So the 1st, the 6th, the 8th, and the 14th.
Do we need 4?
Well, we were going to meet with Jim before he left, and I advised that we meet during his workday.
Right.
So,
right.
So if we met at 2:30 on Wednesday with Jim, the others could be at 4 o'clock on the 6th, the 8th, and the 14th. Chip, is that okay with you?
Yeah, I have no problem. Hold on here. I have no problem with it. I just want to know, do you want to set up the link for that meeting with everybody on there? Is that what you want to do for the 2:31 and the 1st?
Is that possible?
It's possible. I could give authorization to somebody to set up, and they can host the meeting or something like that.
Well, actually, again, I was hoping that we would just meet upstairs and you could televise the whole thing. We have plenty of room with just the 5 of us and Jim to sit apart.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that's what you want to do. The 1st would be the only one I would have a difficulty to get time-wise on that side. But since the village is closed, all my setup can be done prior to the meeting, and then we can go from there.
Folks, do you think it's easier to just stay 6 feet apart and meet with the 5 of us upstairs and the department heads one at a time?
I think it might be easier.
I do too.
Probably.
Okay. It would be easier on Chip too, to just be able to set it up upstairs. So,
Okay.
Anne Marie,
I have the resolution here.
Okay.
Hey, guys, if I could, I know what's easier, and I know that might work, but again, the governor's extended pause policy until April 15th. That means gatherings of any size for any reason remain canceled, and all New Yorkers continue to be directed to practice social distancing. So, I mean, we need to do what's right here, and I'm not telling you what to do. I'm just advising you that that's not practicing, kind of the meeting rules here. Everybody's going to this procedure here, and that would just be my suggestion. That's all.
Well, I get that, but I think if we comply with the social distancing, we are in compliance. And I think in the room upstairs, we're able to do that. I know that neighboring municipalities are doing that as well, as long as they're meeting social distancing.
Okay, and let's say the department head doesn't want to come in because he's either he has some issue with that. What do you do?
We can remote in. The department head can remote in.
Okay.
If they choose to. Yeah.
I'm just saying I advise against that. I'm not saying that's the best practice. I know it's allowed, but when you look at everything here, the most we can stay away from each other for a while here, the best. And I guess you guys choose what you want to do, but that would be my recommendation. And I have the recommendation from the governor and the county and the federal government. So,
if I could chime in here, I just received word that there was a death in Chautauqua County due to this. So we might want to practice what we preach.
I have to agree with the
Sorry,
mayor.
I'm sorry to say it like that. I just think it's vital that we, yeah.
What's everybody feel?
I agree with the mayor. I think we should try to do what we're doing here.
I mean, if this doing social communication here works, I don't see why you can't continue to use this. I know it's a little difficult. It's kind of not personal, but we need to, again, I guess, using Anne Marie's phrase, we need to practice what we preach and lead by example. If we're asking people not to be at house parties and not to be gathering at restaurants and so forth and so on, I know it's legal and I know it's, 10 people or less in a room, but
I understand your concern, absolutely. But I consider this essential business, and essential businesses are open. So that's kind of the way I was thinking of it.
okay. I mean, I would just, whatever trustees, if they want to remote in, and everybody else do at your own, I guess, discretion. Everybody's been, advised of the consequences and the advisories. So I guess choose what you would like to do. I can't force you not to do it.
I guess it really doesn't matter to me. I think we could, if we have a way for them, Chip, to put on a screen on one of these individual screens, a picture of each page of what we're talking about, then that would be probably possible then.
So we could all see one page of the budget at a time.
So we all know what we're talking about. We could point out what each thing is. I mean, it's just that when we're discussing line budget, it's kind of hard to, each of us kind of trying to follow through if we're not right there. But if Chip was able to put that on the screen on an individual spot, then it probably would be possible.
It's possible, but I would need the program. Whoever's running the computer would have to do that, and then I could what we call share a screen, which allows us to share the screen, whatever they're looking at. That can be done like that. We did do it for the fire hall meeting recently, but like I said, it's possible of doing it, but someone would have to run that while I run the other side. I can't do it all myself.
Okay, well, I put it out there. It's out there, so you guys decide what you need to do and take care of that. Is there any other new business? Is there any old business? Is there any old business?
Is there, Doug, is there more planning for the village as far as this virus goes, with the departments, whether it be taken over in case of department employees, for specific, departments such as the water or wastewater treatment? Have you looked further into that? Working with other communities, or, maybe we should look at hiring some other employees at this time, actually, in case of emergencies. Or possibly, I know we have some employees off now with the streets department. Could they somehow work with those other departments so that we have coverage in case some of those men at those very important departments become ill? It sounds like things are starting to kind of ramp up in our area with this illness, and see us without coverage. And also working with other communities, we're going to probably find that they're all going to be searching for the same kind of thing. So I know it's nice to say that we're going to work with collaboratively with other communities, but at some point, it's going to get to the point where we're kind of competing for the same people out there that have the skills to do the job. So what I'd like to see is that maybe you can have a plan to address those issues.
That's a very good question, Jim. And yes, I've had conversations with Mayor Postis, and at any point, whether it's somebody from the water treatment plant, if we can't, our people get sick and ill, that they could assist, and vice versa. But yes, we are in the process of cross-training some employees. We had an employee go down from the water treatment plant to the wastewater treatment plant, and he's working there full time. So we'll try to then cross-train employees. At this point in time, again, with the grown progress and being 6 feet away from each other, that's kind of difficult. But I think we'll just try to work the best we can through it. You guys seen take some of the employees maybe. These places, water treatment plant with water treatment plant, can you guys a employee from BW? I don't know. But if need be, the city us that we could assist them with the wastewater treatment plants. Right now with fire, there's mutual aid agreements, and not a perfect situation by any means, and who knows if you can do a perfect situation right now, all the circumstances, but given everything that we have on our right now, I think we should cover it okay.
Yeah, I think it's better to be ahead of the game on this. So, like I said, if you're trying to work to have something prepared as on this one, we need to get ahead of the game and not just wait for something to happen in hopes that we have somebody from our departments to do it. So.
Well, again, at this point in time, if we could train somebody efficiently and effectively, I'm not sure that can happen right now, 6 feet apart. But moving forward, I think everybody's learning a lot from this coronavirus pandemic. And moving forward, I think cross-training of employees in different areas would be a very good decision to do. So you're correct on that, yes. But currently, it's going to be difficult, and we'll work through it the best we can.
Yeah, I know it's going to be difficult, but I think it's necessary. And I know 6 feet apart. And yeah, like I said, that if we have employees who are not at work that could be assisting in other areas, and yeah, they may have to come in and do something that's 6 feet apart. But I'm sure they can hear and see what's going on 6 feet apart. So.
Hey, Tony, I know you're not on video, but you're on audio. Could you unmute and get thoughts on this, please?
Hello.
Hello, can you hear us, Tony?
Yes, I can.
Did you catch that last?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, just to give you an update, can you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. To give you an update, I talked to Randy Woodbury and Mike Papilli and others in the city, Rob Curry, pretty much daily. We behind the scenes have worked together over several problems Dunkirk's had where they needed help from us and vice versa. I want you all to know that the 2 new operator trainees that you allowed Chris Sermer to put on after the last meeting have done splendid work already. We are running the plant in great condition. You all saw the email from Chris today on the E. coli scenarios and all. The plant's running wonderfully. Now, having said that, going forward, you have to know that with my relationship with the guys in Dunkirk, as well as Doug, your relationship with Mayor Rosas, I am 1,000% confident that we will all help each other. We had to help them with a major water leak last week. We gave them 1 part. They're going to replace that in our inventory. Going forward, as I mentioned to you earlier, Mayor, I am going to start hydrant flushing next Sunday night, effectively Monday morning, 11 to 7. We're going to do that now because of the number of people not drawing on the system in coordination with Chris Sermer and the county. We'll get that done now versus late May, where we annually did it after the college kids had left the campus. I'm very, very confident that the companionship, friendship, and past working relationships that I have with the city of Dunkirk and my co-workers do, we will do everything it takes to keep things going smoothly as much as we can.
Thank you, Tony.
Thank you very much,
You're
Tony.
welcome. Yep.
Anything else for old business?
Can I go back to for a second? If we're going to schedule budget meetings, should we schedule the department heads that we would like to have in attendance at each meeting now so they can plan?
Yeah, we could do that. Probably a good idea if we're those that are on here now, or I just thought we'd make those dates available and see kind of like a sign up, first come, first serve, but
That's fine, whatever.
is everybody on here? Are all the department heads? I see Phil, I see Ryan, I know Tony's on. Chris and Sean.
No.
Do you, Ryan and Phil and Tony, would you like to schedule? The dates are the 6th, the 8th, and the 14th.
I'm fine. If you put out any date for me, for myself, let me know when you want me to meet. I will be available.
Thank you.
Is there still April 8th works fine for me if we're looking at 4 o'clock that afternoon.
Okay.
Perfect.
I'm good whenever you have an opening. Are we, is there still a board meeting scheduled for the 6th?
I don't think so. I thought this one, Doug, didn't this special meeting take the place of the 6th and we're not meeting again till the 20th?
That I'd have to check with Anne Marie on the minutes of the last meetings. I was under the impression we still had it, but we need to check that out for sure.
I thought that's why we had a special meeting today, is because we were going to be on vacation, several of us. And so we rescheduled today to meet with the public hearing, and that the next meeting was scheduled for the 20th.
That was my understanding also, but because of the what's going on now, we've,
Well, let's just make it a budget meeting. Let's just keep it a budget meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Can we do that? Roger, can we do that?
Fine.
That's fine.
Okay, so who do you want to put on that day?
Well, I think Phil said the 8th, and Tony and Ryan have said whenever, and I think we should check with Chris and Sean as to their availability. And if Tony and Ryan say whenever,
I'll take the,
and Sean and Ryan say whenever, or I mean Chris say whenever, we'll just let them know. Can we do that?
Ryan, what were you going to say?
I can schedule for the 6th if needed.
Okay.
4 o'clock.
Yes.
Okay, I got it.
Okay, are we all set on budget meetings and who we have there?
Who are the trustees for sewer and water?
I think I am.
You want to contact Chris and Sean and see what days they are available? And how much time do you think an hour for each department head is enough, or
Yes.
more?
Now an hour's plenty.
So the next meeting, so the days that are doubled would be 5 o'clock, 4 and 5 o'clock?
Sure.
Ryan's gonna say more time. I know he is. So maybe.
Keep it. You got an hour, buddy. That's it.
Okay, we all set, folks?
I just got one question, just so I clarify on what I'm doing. Are we all meeting upstairs with somebody to be able to video conference in, or how do you guys want me to do this?
Can we do both, Chip? Is it possible to set us upstairs for anybody who is interested in coming, and also allowing remote for those who aren't?
Yeah, we should be able to set up as long as we have time. But the first is going to be our first meeting at 4 o'clock. Is that correct?
Yes, except for Wednesday.
Wednesday's the first one with Jim at, it's the first at 2:30,
Yep.
Okay.
and then the other ones are all at 4 o'clock.
That's the one on the first.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I'll see if I can figure something out. Like I says, I work, so it's going to be difficult in this situation. So for that one, that's why I said after 4 o'clock would be the best for me. So I'll work on that side, and we'll get it figured out.
Can you explain how to do it with me, Chip, and I can do it? Or
really,
bring-
it's going to be almost a 3-person job.
For the 2:30 one on Wednesday.
Yeah, it's going to be almost a 3. It's going to be very difficult, but
Can we move it to 4 o'clock?
If Jim's available.
I'm available.
Okay.
Okay.
Let's do that then, please.
Okay.
Okay, Wednesday the first at 4.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Okay, I'd like to move forward with the special meeting. At a special meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Fredonia, duly called and held on the 30th day of March 2020 at 5:18 p.m. via video conferencing, Fredonia, New York, and a public notice of the time and place of this meeting has been given to the news media and conspicuously posted in one or more designated public location in accordance with Section 104 of the Open Meetings Law. I would like to open up the public hearing portion of this meeting now. This being the time and place for the public hearing on the proposed 2020-2021 village budget, proof of publication shown. Anne Marie, can you show that, please?
Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Publication shown. I call the hearing to order. Anne Marie, would you read the public portion of that, please?
This portion of the meeting is for public comment. Any member of the public wishing to comment shall submit public comments by email to Fredonia Village Clerk at netsync.net no later than 2 p.m. Monday, March 30th. I have not received any emails.
Okay. All right, Dan, in this case here, do we close the public portion?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Well, being there no public comments emailed to the village clerk, I close the public portion of the public hearing. We'll move to reports.
If the mayor and the trustees have reports, now would be the time to say them.
Okay, I'll do the mayor's report. I'm just, with this coronavirus pandemic, I just would encourage our public to practice the safe distancing again, and be patient, courteous, and respectful to each other's neighbors. Be kind to your neighbors, check in on your neighbors. Be a good person here, and be a good citizen, and just show some support to everybody involved, our first responders, our fire, our police, our hospital workers, workers at grocery stores, delivery people, anybody out there in essential jobs that are out there. A lot of them are risking their lives. They're risking the lives of their family and friends, and anybody who might be possible of getting this virus here. So please be diligent. Just be respectful of everybody, and make sure you abide by what is being advised to you. When we're advised by the county. Everything we do is dictated by the county, and the county gets their advisement from the state and up from the federal government. So everything that we advise you to do as residents of the Village of Fredonia is coming from the county level and up. And we will instruct everybody as to updates if there's new things to do or new advisements of the ways to act. And if anybody needs information, the county website is a great place. County and the state websites, they have daily updates on where we're at locally and in the state. So if you have any questions or concerns, those are your best resources, and I would encourage you to use those as well. And just thank everybody for their patience and understanding during this crisis. We will get through this. We have your back. I thank all our employees, our essential employees who are working for the village right now. They're doing a fantastic job. They're under a lot of stress and worries of not getting this virus and dealing with people who are. So please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. And like I said, we'll get through this together, and we have your back. So thank you everyone for your support, and thank you. Trustee Christina.
Nothing tonight.
Trustee Linden.
Nothing.
Trustee Britz.
I have no report tonight.
Trustee Pecos.
Nothing to report.
Trustee Bashaw.
Nothing to report.
Okay, thank you. We'll move forward with correspondence then. Thank you, Anne Marie.
Number one, a letter of resignation was received from James Sedota, Village Treasurer, resigning his position as of Friday, April 3rd, 2020. I'll read the letter. To the Mayor and the Village Board of Trustees from James Sedota, Village Treasurer. Please be advised, if Lori Richardson is not rehired as Deputy Village Treasurer, I will no longer be able to fulfill my duties as Village Treasurer, and I will resign my position effective April 3rd, 2020. I will turn my keys into the village clerk and give all the fobs, the bank information, to the mayor. You will have till April 3rd to set up access to all bank accounts for the new treasurer. By not accepting my recommendation to rehire Lori, I take that as a lack of confidence in me. Furthermore, I will not be available for any training after I leave. Also, my availability from March 25th until April 3rd because of my age will be limited because of the coronavirus. James Sedota.
Thank you.
Roger, you're not reading?
Trustee Pecos.
I'm not sponsoring this.
Okay.
Be it resolved that the resignation of James Sedota, Village Treasurer, is hereby accepted effective Friday, April 3rd, 2020, and the mayor is hereby authorized to write a letter to Mr. Sedota thanking him for his service to the Village of Fredonia.
A second.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Actually, I'd like to take this opportunity to say directly to Jim that I have a great deal of respect and appreciation for everything that you've done and have done in the past. I truly enjoy working with you, Jim. 20 years ago and again this year. As I expressed to you, I have every confidence that you are are very able to carry on the work here for as long as you could see fit without the assistance of our retired employee. But I understand the stress that you've been under, and I feel bad that your resignation is the result of an ultimatum that we can't abide by. And I hope that you'll see fit in the future to spend some time with us in training, and if you're available. And if not, I'd like to thank you from the bottom of my heart and tell you that I'll miss you.
Is there any other discussion?
Yes, I'd like to comment. When an employee feels valued and believes their work and effort is appreciated, they don't mind coming to work and even going above and beyond what is required. For over 50 years, this village ran pretty smoothly with an administrator who was non-political and who took care of day-to-day operations. As I campaigned, many of
Roger, you went on mute.
our residents expressed their. Am I?
Okay, there you go.
Am I good now?
Yes, you are. I'm sorry. You're good.
All right. Let me start again. When an employee feels valued and believes their work and effort is appreciated, they don't mind coming to work and even going above and beyond what is required. For over 50 years, this village ran pretty smoothly with an administrator who was non-political and who took care of day-to-day operations. As I campaigned, many of our residents expressed their displeasure with the upheaval and constant arguing that was prevalent under the last administration, and they hoped that things would change. Due to the fact that we have a trustee who is trying to micromanage day-to-day operations, the upheaval has continued, as evidenced by our senior account clerk resigning a year and a half earlier than she had originally planned, and now our treasurer contemplating the same. Jim gave us a proposal to keep Lori on, which would allow Lori to train the new account clerk and would allow Jim to train a new treasurer. To think that we can just move our account clerk and have her take over both the senior account clerk duties and treasurer duties with almost no training is ludicrous. Bond payments, bond resolutions, the payment of bills, including assuring the payment was board approved, debt service, and certificate of taxes and special assessments paid are just a few of the many duties that you are assigning this person with no training. Given proper training, I have full confidence that Alyssa can do a superb job, but it isn't fair to her to not properly train her. We have a fiduciary responsibility to our taxpayers, and I don't believe this meets that criteria. To that end, I cannot support this resolution. I was at the meeting when the former board and mayor practically begged Jim Sedota to step in and take over, and he did this village a huge favor by doing so. In my opinion, he's being pushed out. This is not how valued employees should be treated. I have the utmost respect for Jim and Lori. I wish you both the very best with your retirement, and Jim with your second retirement.
Thank you. Any other comments?
Yes, I'd like to say that. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, sure. I just want to thank Jim Sedota. He stepped in. The committee was left without a treasurer, and he was gracious enough to come in and help. He did come out of retirement. He never intended to work for a long period of time for the village, but I do want to thank him for the effort that he put forward in the assisting at that time and up until now. Thank you.
Thank you. Kara?
I would just echo what Jim said. He did us a great favor coming out of retirement. We greatly appreciate the work that he did. No one is pushing him out. I've expressed that I would hope that he would stay on at least temporarily. But good luck, and it is with regret that, you are leaving at this point.
Trustee Britz, did you have anything to say?
I talked to Jim privately. He knows how I feel. Jim and I have been friends for many years, and he's been a friend of my father's for many years. We've all been around together many years. I lead on him a number of times to help me get through a lot of situations and learn a lot of things in the past couple of years as a trustee. And again, also, Jim, I I hate to see you leave. And I know you're only a phone call away if I need some help. So thank you again for your service, and can't wait to see you out at the driving range.
All right, thank you, everybody. Motion's been made, a second, and comments. Trustee Christina,
Yes, with regret.
trustee Linden,
Aye.
trustee Britz,
Yes, with regrets.
trustee Pecos,
No.
trustee Bashaw,
Yes, with regret.
pass. Okay, resolutions. Trustee Pecos,
Bond, let's see. Bond resolution dated March 30th, 2020. A resolution authorizing the issuance of an additional $200,000 bonds of the Village of Fredonia, Chautauqua County, New York, to pay part of the cost of building improvements to the fire hall and for the village. I believe that's all I
I'll
have.
second the resolution.
okay. Been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Trustee Christina,
Yes.
trustee Linden,
Aye.
trustee Britz, I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Trustee Britz,
Yes.
okay, trustee Pecos,
Yes.
trustee Bashaw,
Yes. I'm sorry, yes.
carry.
Be it resolved that Alyssa LeBeau of 2 Westerly Drive, Fredonia, is provisionally appointed as senior account clerk effective March 31st, 2020, at a rate of pay of $19.26 per hour during the probationary period that will last 6 months. In completing a successfully probationary period, the rate will go to $21.05 per hour. And be it further resolved that the appointment will remain provisional until such time that the corresponding civil service exam is available and successfully completed.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina,
Yes.
trustee Linden,
Aye.
trustee Britz,
Yes.
trustee Pecos,
Yes.
trustee Bashaw,
Yes.
carried.
Whereas Alyssa LeBeau is currently employed provisionally by the Village of Fredonia as the senior account clerk, and whereas the village has a need for a deputy treasurer, therefore be it resolved, the village hereby appoints Alyssa LeBeau as deputy treasurer for the Village of Fredonia with no additional compensation.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina,
Yes.
trustee Linden,
Aye.
trustee Britz,
Yeah.
trustee Pecos,
Yes.
trustee Bashaw,
Yes.
carried.
Be it resolved that Alyssa LeBeau of 2 Westerly Drive, Fredonia, is hereby appointed as the Village of Fredonia tax collector for the stipend amount of $3,000 effective immediately. The remaining budget of $1,000 to be paid to the deputy tax collector.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Since when do we have a deputy tax collector?
Actually, we've had someone who's performed the deputy duties for quite some time. Our previous tax collector or tax receiver, whatever you want to call the position, it collected for the first month, and then the responsibility of collection went over to the water department. So with no remuneration, and we're just trying to write that by making sure there is a backup to collect the taxes and that there is a small stipend to accommodate that work.
Eva, Don, and Dan, correct me if I'm wrong, aren't deputies appointed by the Board of Trustees and that's by resolution?
That's what this is.
Yes,
Who are you?
correct.
And who are we naming? And you're not naming anybody a deputy tax collector in particular. That's what I'm saying. We need.
Yeah, we're not appointing at this point. We're just encumbering the money that's budgeted. We actually divided that. There isn't money in the budget, and it's not any more than what's been in the budget. We just divided it to accommodate when the deputy tax, we're actually thinking that it should be the person who's collected it all along, and that would have been the person that will replace John.
Okay, so a deputy tax collector has not been appointed as of yet.
That's correct.
Right.
It should probably accompany that position, because
Okay.
that's who's done it.
Okay, so when that person comes on to replace John, that person will have to be appointed deputy tax collector.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, thank you. Any other discussion?
Again, this is the titled receiver of taxes.
We
I
can
don't know if that
correct
makes a
that.
difference in the resolution.
I'll correct it.
Thank you, Roger. Any other comments? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Pecos? Trustee Britz?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
Be it resolved that the retirement date of John Wise of 24 Leon Place, Fredonia, is hereby extended from April 3rd, 2020 to June 5th, 2020 for the purpose of providing office coverage and training to the clerk position in the Office of the Water Billing Department effective immediately.
I'll second that.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Britz?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
Be it resolved that the duties of the Village of Fredonia Registrar are hereby assigned for transfer to the village clerk, Anne Marie Johnson of 12 Carroll Avenue, Fredonia, effective immediately at a rate of pay commensurate with the current state of New York's registrar reimbursement rate.
Do we know what that is?
The state sets it, and I think it's $10 a document.
Okay, thank you.
I'd have
Is there a
to check.
second?
I'll second that.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Britz?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
Whereas Fredonia Village Code, Chapter 63-1B3 allows for the creation of special committees who shall make recommendations to the mayor and the board of trustees on matters assigned to them. Therefore, be it resolved, the following list of special committees is hereby adopted.
I'll second that.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Britz? Trustee Britz, are you on mute?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Yes.
Carried.
No.
And
Trustee Britz, you have the next resolution, please.
Be it
Roger,
resolved pursuant to section 5. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can
Yes.
you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I have a delay on my end. I'm sorry.
Will another trustee please would
Be
be
it resolved that pursuant to section 5-520 of the village law, the following budget transfers are hereby approved. Transfer
a transfer of $5,000 from the fire personnel A3410.1 to the fire maintenance A3410.49, and transfer of $12,000 from personnel A to 3410.1 to personnel overtime A3410.11.
I'll second that.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Britz? Trustee Pecos?
Aye.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
Be resolved that the regular and overtime payrolls of the various village departments and bills approved by the Finance Committee and set forth in abstract number 522 is hereby approved and directed paid.
I'll second the motion.
It's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Britz?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried.
I have a resolution here about the meetings for the budget from Dan.
Okay.
I don't have sponsors. Who would like to sponsor it? And I can,
I'll do it.
okay, I'll be right there.
You can read it.
You know what? While we're waiting, Jim, I accidentally threw reports. Did you have anything for the treasurer report, Jim? I apologize before we move further.
No, not tonight.
Okay, thank you. All right.
Would it be possible to make a motion to ask the mayor to approach Baggett, Laredo Baggett, to see if they would be willing to temporarily do some of the treasurer's work for us? Is that possible?
Even if it's a discussion just to see what they can offer.
What's the pleasure of the board? The rest of the board?
Yeah, I think it's be worth investigating, just at least to see what they can help, if it's something they can help us with.
Trustee Britz?
Yeah, I don't know if you can hear me, but go right ahead if you'd like to talk with them.
Okay. Trustee Pecos?
I don't see we have much of a choice given the majority board's decision. So you probably should, Doug.
Okay, thank you. I will move forward and give Laredo Baggett a call and get some thoughts from them, maybe some quotes, and see if they're available to do that, their availability. Okay, this last resolution.
Yes. Whereas 3 or more members of the board would like to be present during department head budget meetings, therefore be it resolved, these budget meetings will be conducted by teleconference according to New York State Public Officers Law Section 104(2) and the attached schedule as reads: Wednesday, April 1st at 4 p.m., Monday, April 6th at 4 p.m., Wednesday, April 8th at 4 p.m., Tuesday, April 14th at 4 p.m.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second the motion.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Trustee Christina?
Yes.
Trustee Linden?
Aye.
Trustee Britz?
Yes.
Trustee Pecos?
Yes.
Trustee Bashaw?
Yes.
Carried. Before I ask for a motion to adjourn, I would like to take this time to thank our treasurer, Jim Sedota, for his many years of service previously and helping us out these last couple of years. I truly appreciate your service and your support and your knowledge. I also want to thank Lori Richardson, who was our senior account clerk for many, many years. Thank you for your service, Lori, and all your knowledge. Both you employees will be truly missed, and good luck on golf, Jim. I hope you do well. At this time, I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
Either no further business, I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been a motion, a second to adjourn. Trustee Christina,
Yes.
trustee Linden,
Aye.
trustee Britz,
Yes.
trustee Pecos,
Yes.
trustee Bashaw.
Yes.
Carried. Thank you very much. Have a good night.